There's animals on the continent of Africa that are really challenging. You got to worry about malaria, and then you got to worry about like cannibals and shit. 6'5" Creedmoor is fantastic. That's a hipster caliber. You have someone that's really into politics or is always gaslighting everyone or is just constantly pissed. Be like, hey man, I don't remember. What were you mad about Tuesday? They'll be like, man, shit, I don't remember, but I'll tell you what I'm mad about today. If you're a male and you're listening to this and you're over the age of 35, you are completely and totally insane if you don't go get blood panels done. I'll tell you what else I'm not doing. I'm never eating a pig's testicle either, ever again. I think it sucks, man, like people cast judgment or try to put their signature on how people do things or accomplish things. This is Baker Leavitt, and you're listening to the Wild Initiative Podcast.
Put down your latte and pull on your boots.
I've been blessed to harvest 22 of the 29 North American animals with my bow.
My personal 24-hour record for death threats is 88.
They will start putting two and two together and realize this is how you call bulls in.
So when I go hunting now, that's the ethos I take with me. You know, whatever this hunt is going to throw at you, you pull your big girl pants up and you get on with it.
Giant bucks are freaking awesome. They're beautiful. But you know what? I would not trade this first buck for anything in the world.
So I'm a geek. Magicians and dragons and magic swords. I kid you not, man. I'm the biggest dork in the gun business.
I'm Freddie Hartice, the Hollywood Hunter.
This is Aaron Snyder.
Hey, this is Trevin Stoltzfus with Outback Outdoors.
This is Rihanna Carey.
Hi, this is John Stallone of the Interviews with the Hunting Masters.
You're listening to The Wild Initiative.
Hey, y'all, welcome to another episode of The Wild Initiative, brought to you as part of the Waypoint Outdoor Collective. All right, y'all. So getting on to today's episode. Today, I have Baker Leavitt. He does the marketing for Black Rifle Coffee. He is a Southern boy, big turkey hunter. We kind of sit down and have a conversation, admittedly, that was a little bit all over the place. You know, this one, y'all, we kind of just hopped on the line, started chatting, and I hit the record button. And, you know, it was just one of those kind of super organic conversations that popped up out of nowhere and thought it would make a good podcast. So hope you all enjoy this episode with Baker Leavitt. I've got to get a Cape Buffalo before I die. I mean, like, that's just...
So we're recording now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, man. Like, it's epic. And then, like, as I started to, you know, grow and mature and get more into hunting, I mean, I taught myself to hunt when I was like 15, no one in my family hunted, and I borrowed someone's rifle and walked out. So my family's from Savannah, and then like 70 miles north, we had a farm in Sylvania, Georgia. So my family's originally from Sylvania, but they all live in Savannah. And so we'd go up to our farm, you know, in the fall and winter. And, you know, I was like, well, I'll just, you know, I read a bunch of magazines. And so I was like, all right, I got this rifle, and I walked out to the field. It was the day before Thanksgiving. And I walked up to the edge of the field, you know, with this 30-06 with like a Tasco scope on it, non-variable, and 165 grain Winchester silver tips was the ammo. And saw like 8 does walking out into the middle of the field. And I just put the crosshairs on one of them and just let it rip. And it's like in a movie, you know, I thought you shot it and it just fell over dead. Or like, you know, in a movie they throw a knife at someone and it kills them immediately. So, you know.
Wait, that's not how it works? Hold on. Whoa. You're blowing my world here.
I got an elk hunt from in New Mexico this year that ate 5 rounds from a 300 Win Mag. But, yeah, man. So, you know, but as I grew, like, matured in hunting and stuff, like, I started to want to like hunt out west, you know, because when I was a kid, it was like whitetails in Georgia, or, you know, the dream hunt was going to Africa, because that's just such a wild place, you know.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, if you ever come across a little extra money and you want to go to Africa, or whenever you're ready to go to Africa, let me know and I will help set that up for you. It is a phenomenal experience, man. Like, you can't beat it.
Yeah. It's definitely, you know, like I say, it wasn't what sparked my interest in hunting. And I was kind of like, yeah, okay, like, you know, it'd be cool. Like, if somebody like handed it to me on a silver platter, heck yeah, I'd do it. But recently it's definitely been, and I think it's because I've been hanging out and spending more time with more dudes that's their passion. And you can't be around you can't be around someone that's a group of people that are excited about something for all that long until you start getting excited about it too. Doesn't like for the most part, it doesn't matter what it is. And so I just recently I was down at the FTW ranch in Texas with Tim Fallon, and we were doing. He's got that new hunter training course that he's launching, and so he brought a whole group of us out to just check it out for the like first course and give him some feedback. And all of those guys, they're big. That's their thing. And even the ranch, I mean, it's an exotics ranch, and they run it like you're on safari in Africa, and it's just talking with them and listening to the stories, and just evenings at the bar there hanging out. Like, you can't help but get like stoked and start letting the gears turn and being like, well, okay, maybe I'm more into this than I initially thought I was.
If you really want to start reading some of Capstick stuff, like there's tons of books on African safari, like Death in the Long Grass, and read the Ghost in the Darkness, which is about the lions of Sabo.
Trust me. Ever since I saw the movie, I've read the book since, and like all time. I love that. I love that story, man.
It's fantastic. There's a lot of really good books, and then like there's Hemingway spent a lot of time over there, and no, it's great, man. It's not. There's animals on the continent of Africa that are really challenging, and that's just basically like some of the stuff like in the Congo, like bongos and stuff, are pretty challenging there, and Central African Republic, CAR and stuff, and then there's stuff in the Congo, which is like you got to worry about malaria, and then you got to worry about like cannibals and shit, and nobody wants to think about that. But I've killed one animal with a big bore rifle. I shot a giraffe with a 470 Nitro Express, shooting a 500 grain Hornady just bazooka missile, and it was a massive giraffe, massive giraffe. And the thing with giraffes, man, is like you really have to manage your giraffe population because they have a very specific food source. And if the carrying capacity of the farm or ranch, whatever you want to call it, is 40 giraffes, and you got 300 giraffes, you're going to have a serious problem. So I've stalked into 50, 60 yards, and it took off running, and I shouldered it, and hand to God, it dropped like a sack of flour. If you had said, give me 25 scenarios as to what's going to happen when you pull this trigger, that would not have been one of them. I've never seen anything like it, man. Those big bore rifles, dude, unbelievable. Unbelievable. And they do a lot of that at FTW rinks, right?
They've got a bunch of different courses you can do. The one I was kind of there to check out was they were doing their very first, it's like your new hunter training program. Like it'll take somebody that's never even touched a rifle before and take them all the way through harvesting and skinning, processing their first animal and cooking a meal with it. Like they literally, as I've never done this, as you can get all the way through. Like, I just shot this morning and now I'm making ceviche from the heart. Like,
oh, wow.
It's a really cool program. And then they have their they have their safari courses. And I think that's the big bore stuff typically.
The dangerous game stuff.
Yeah. The dangerous game course. They've got they've got their like advanced shooter program and then like the super advanced shooter program. They've got a bunch of different courses that they'll take you through at different levels. And it's, for me, I used to teach rifle marksmanship on a basic level and going in, and it was a really good refresher for me, even in that new hunter course. And some stuff that we never really got into because we were I was in the basic course, but talking about things like spindrift and more doping for wind and a lot of that stuff that you don't get to in the basic courses. And it was just a really good refresher for me. And then we took some time. We were shooting 6.5 Creedmoor, so little teeny guys.
That's a hipster caliber.
Yeah,
it is, man.
Don't tell Tim that. Don't tell Tim that, man.
No, for long range distance shooting, specifically people, 6.5 Creedmoor is fantastic. It's from my buddies that are world-class marksmen, it's basically like a souped-up better version of a 308. You don't need it to shoot deer at 100 yards. There's an Instagram meme account called Utard Hunters, and he went on this thing about the 6.5 Creedmoor and how it's a hipster caliber, and like, say, hey, will you help me come zero my 6.5? I got a moose hunt in Alaska or something like that. You know, it's just like 100-yard shot tops. That's a funny Instagram meme account. But yeah, no, 6.5. I killed a couple deer this year with a 6.5 in Georgia at our farm up there. But I'm partial to a 30-06. Like, I don't in any way, shape, or form consider myself to be a good shot with anything other than a shotgun. Listen, like, I don't like wound animals and like they wander off and stuff. Well, sometimes, you know, with
it's
bow,
happened.
but,
I mean, anybody that says it hasn't happened to them is a liar. Like,
but I don't like, I like to hunt with a bow and I like to hunt with a rifle. But when I rifle hunt, it's just because they're out of bow range. You know what I mean? And so I shoot whitetail high shoulder with a 30-06 and it's game over.
Mm-hmm.
I've killed hundreds of whitetail deer with that method. You know, in Georgia, you can kill 2 bucks, 10 does a year. Like, and I've shot a lot of whitetail deer with a 30-06 in the shoulder. And I'm just kind of programmed that way, man. And sure as shit, man, that elk is a nice old bruiser of like a 6x6, like just an old bull. And sure as shit, man, he stepped out, shot him in the shoulder. He ran 100 yards, had to shoot him again. It's like, man, what the hell? I ended up shooting him 5 times. Like, yeah, and like the 5th shot was like a coup de grace, up close and personal in the neck just to end it. Like, he was eating lead. Like I've never seen an animal. It was crazy. But with a bow, I've always shot them. They just kind of trotted off and fell over and died. You know, it's pretty interesting.
I wrote an article. It was right after I had built some I'd built some new arrows, and I just built these like heavy ass super. I think they're like 605 grain arrows with just big old fat heavy broadheads on them.
Kinetic Energy. And I support you.
It was the whole discussion of like speed and kinetic energy and why kinetic energy is important for the difference of why it's important for bullets versus arrows and this and that. And I have a whole blog on it, and it's talking about like, okay, so often with bullets, it's the shock that kills the animal effectively.
The hydrostatic shock.
Yeah. It's the shock of the speed of that bullet passing through. That's not the case with an arrow. An arrow just needs to create massive freaking amounts of trauma. The bullet's kinetic energy is important. The arrow, you just need penetration. And so, I got into it with some guy, and that's why I wrote this whole article. Cause I started making a 6-page response to him on Instagram. And I'm like, yeah, no, this is not going to be productive. I'm just going to write a blog. But
my buddy, Brian Broderick, who owns Day 6 Gear, they make arrows and they're super heavy arrows out of Mobile, Alabama. He explained that to me, the whole, FPS versus kinetic energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll take a heavier arrow over a lighter arrow any day of the week.
Oh yeah.
Because when you really break it down like feet per second. So let's say you're shooting a 400 grain arrow versus a 500 grain arrow, 90 feet. And we're going to go, let's say 300 feet per second. And then we're going to go 275 feet per second. So we're talking about 25 feet per second difference. What is the time difference in arrow impact on a 400 grain arrow and a 500 grain arrow at 30 yards, 90 feet? Insignificant.
Yeah.
Insignificant. Now the kinetic energy and impact, that's a whole different ballgame. But and listen, I don't know. I'm not a tech talk guy. I have a lot of subject matter experts in my life. I'm a subject matter enthusiast. But Broderick explained it to me one time, and I was like, all right, I will die on that hill with you. He's also got like 40 something Pope and Youngs. 20 of them were with like a recurve or something, treadmill or something, pretty insane.
Yeah. What I've studied and read, and I'm the same way. Like, I'm not I never claimed to be an expert on anything, but all the guys I've talked to have pointed me in the right direction of people that are much more studied and much wiser on this than I have been like, this is what you need. This is what you should be looking at. Da, 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 da. And then I'll test that, and I'll still base it somewhat on my own experience, and I'll make it work for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember when I first started, and you're just buying, like, the first time I shot my bow, and I'm just buying like the bulk arrows from Bass Pro and whatever, you take off the vanes, or you shatter one, or you lose it in the bush, and you're kind of like, you look for it for a minute, and you're like, oh well, bummer. And yeah, now I'm like, man, I got like this very specific arrow, and then thrown on lighted nocks, and it's 4-fletched, and it's got a weight collar and an insert and a high-end broadhead. And I'm like, gosh, every time.
We were at Sornex's Winter Strong in January, and like we were out there shooting our bows, and like I had Robin Hooded an arrow that week, and then we were there, and I had Robin Hooded another one, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, that's so cool!" And I was like, "No, it's not. That's 4 arrows this week that I've ruined." And like I didn't Robin Hood them because I'm good. I just Robin Hooded them because I would say I was unlucky. Like I didn't mean to do it. It just kind of was like, shit, that's twice. My girlfriend got a Robin Hood on her second day with a bow. I wasn't even here, and she sent me a picture. She goes, "What does this mean?" I was like, holy shit, you just did that. It's pretty funny. But I think I got us off on a tangent.
I'll be honest. I have no idea how we got here. Oh, we were talking about the big bore rifles versus arrows, just dropping them. And I think I was the one that got us off on this tangent, but I'm a little all over the place today. I've not had any coffee today.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm normally I'm a pot a day kind of guy with some energy drinks stacked on top of that. So
you like to ride the lightning, as I say.
Oh yeah. I'm the guy that mixes like energy drink supplements in with my coffee. I'm like, oh, this will be a good idea. I'm going to make a note to send you some Black Rifle coffee. That I will never complain about. I'm supposed to be getting my adrenals checked for my cortisol levels, so I'm not allowed to have caffeine today, and it's driving me nuts.
Why are you getting your adrenal levels checked?
So one of my clients and her husband, they're in the hunting industry. They're good friends of mine. She lives out here in Montana, Dr. Hillary Lampers. Her husband's Ryan Lampers.
Okay.
Stealthy
I know,
hunter.
yeah, and I knew his wife was like in holistic medicine and stuff.
Yeah, and she's like a specialist in this stuff, and it's something I've been wanting to get checked out in the hormone levels, and I think it's something for guys to be aware about. Like, it's kind of a weird thing. I think guys don't always like to talk about that stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna convince some other guys to go do it. If you're a male and you're listening to this, and you're over the age of 35, you are completely and totally insane if you don't go get blood panels done. They're not expensive. I get mine done every 2 months. And I had a really substantial one done about a month and a half ago. And the big panel, it's like, oh shit, my vitamin D is super low. My B is low, but not like crazy low. It's good to know that stuff, man. I encourage anyone listening to go get it done. Like, it's super important.
Yep. So we did the full panel, and it's like everything. And we went through it. We just went through it yesterday or day before yesterday. And I'm good on my vitamin B because I just take a shit ton of stuff that has vitamin B in it. I'm pretty solid on my vitamin B. My vitamin D is really low. And then the testosterone thing is the one thing I learned is, and this is why I think it's important too, don't just go to your general practitioner and be like, hey, I want to get this checked. And they'll take one glance at it and be like, you're fine, and put you on your way. You kind of need to find a specialist in this. That's why I was excited, because I also trust Hillary, and she's involved in the hunting industry. She understands the lifestyle and all of this stuff because of Ryan. And so we talked about one thing, and it's like the range for an adult male for testosterone is enormous. Like, It's like, I think it's like from like 250 to like 1100 or something, or 300 to 1100.
Yeah, you don't want to get that. You don't want to be up near 1,000. That's high. That's when you start, your brain starts going crazy.
Oh yeah. That's like what's considered the normal, like within range. And everyone's baseline is so different though. And you know, where you would be, and it changes, and you need somebody that'll actually take a look at that, consider you as an individual, not as just like a stat, and work with you on something. So that's something we're actually talking about. And I'm like announcing my medical stuff on the podcast, but I don't care. It's helpful. It's helpful for people.
Right. Also, when you go in to get your testosterone test or whatever, if you're going to do it, make sure you get a good night's sleep. You're not stressed. Like, you're relaxed, you're calm, you're not dehydrated.
That's the big one. Making sure. I mean, I'm in Montana, so everyone here is dehydrated, but
right.
Yeah, it's just there's no way around it. You cannot drink enough water here. But
Florida's the opposite.
Exactly. But that was one thing we actually talked about, is like, make sure, you know, you're not dehydrated when you go in for this stuff, because that will greatly affect a lot of these tests. And
accurate data in gets accurate data out.
Yeah. And it's one of those things. It's like, for me, because my numbers were normal. They were good for a guy my age, not bad, but she was looking at it and she's like, well, I would kind of with your symptoms, and I would kind of expect yours to be a little bit higher. And so what we're looking at is not doing TRT, but doing clomiphene, which basically stimulates my body to produce testosterone on its own more, just to see how I react to that, how I feel. And then we're doing the adrenal testing, which is, checking cortisol levels throughout the day. And a lot of people that I think this is important, because I'm like a high stress person. I run like high stress all the time. Mm-hmm. Shit stresses me out constantly. And it's just, I'm an overthinker. It's the type of person I am. And people like me who run that way, like, there's other people that just shit doesn't bother them. And like, that's their life. And that's not me at all. High stress people like me, a lot of the time when you run like that all the time, it'll end up flattening out your curve throughout the day. And that also can be what causes you just can't get yourself out of bed in the mornings, or you can't, you get those crashes in the afternoons when you should be getting lifts or this or that or the other. And that's why I'm no coffee today. I will be probably back on my crack regimen tomorrow. But because the caffeine affects your, affects how you're doing. And it's like I'm having to spit in a test tube every few hours today. And
dude, they got all kinds of those tests, man. Like, they've got blood, they've got urine, they've got saliva.
Oh yeah.
Like, they have tests where they literally, like, you have to send them in like shit.
Oh yeah. I'm spitting in a tube and pissing on a sheet of paper and
mailing
it over to them.
Urine, I don't care. Saliva, I don't care. Blood, guts, I don't care. Shit and like warm dog shit, like I'm not participating.
You're preaching to the choir on that one,
man. No, thank you. Not doing it. I'll tell you what else I'm not doing. I'm never eating a pig's testicle either, ever again. You didn't see that coming, did you?
I'm not sure at this point with this podcast, I'm not sure I'm seeing anything coming. I'm enjoying this conversation, man.
Dude, so we were turkey hunting. I was down in South Florida. So I love to turkey hunt. And like, the one thing I would say of all the creatures that I pursue, I would say I'm probably the best at turkey hunting. I'm not saying I'm good. I'm just saying that's probably what
you suck the least at.
Exactly. I suck the least at it. And so I was down in South Florida trying to get an Osceola because, I've shot a bunch of Easterns, a bunch of Merriams, and a bunch of Rios. I've never killed an Osceola. So we're down there, and I was with this guy by the name of Jeremy Starks, who's a wildlife biologist from West Virginia. He was a professional bass angler for 13 years. He was the 2-time Bassmaster Elite champion. Owns a company called Bass Mafia. They make tackle boxes and stuff. Legit guy, like really talented, extremely smart guy. And we shot a pig. We shot a couple pigs. No turkeys, but we did get a couple pigs. And so he's like, you ever had pig testicles? I was like, no. You want to try one? I was like, yeah, I'll try anything once, within reason. And Caleb Sorrells from PSC was there with us. So it was me, Jeremy, and Caleb. And we cleaned the pig, and then we took out its nuts and diced them up and cooked one on the grill. Absolutely disgusting. Horrible texture. Flavor was awesome. Like the perfect amount of spice, cooked to perfection. But just the texture, I was like, I don't spit food out. I'm not like dramatic like that. If I don't like something, I'll finish it and be like, oh man, that's great. Thank you. This, I was like, and Caleb looks over, he goes, yep, one and done for me. One and done, no more. So then I started like thinking about like how bad it would suck if the only thing you had to eat was pig testicles. Like you hear stories like, oh man, when I was growing up, we were so poor. It's like, imagine if someone's like, oh man, all we had to eat was pig testicles.
I tell you what, I grew up as a farmhand and I really didn't have much spare money to buy food. But I'll tell you what, they gave me all the pig testicles I could eat.
Yeah, work at the pig factory, and you just run around getting up pig testicles. Ugh. God, that was awful, man. And the worst part was it looked like an anus. Because I got the end of it. My bite was it's like a round, round thing, and it's shaped like this or whatever. And the bite I got was this piece, and it looked like a balloon knot. Like it was, dude. Like I'm serious, man. Like I was like, what the hell is this? I'll send you a photo of it. When we're done. It was nasty.
Oh man, I did. Yeah, this is the first time I can say I've looked forward to getting a picture of testicles from a dude.
Have you ever had testicles?
Only the two that are attached to me.
But you've never eaten them?
No. Nope.
They're still there. Maybe that's what's wrong with you. You ate your balls off.
What is going on with this conversation?
You can't plan out these things. You gotta let them go, man. That's how people get entertained.
You gotta cup them nicely. Yeah. The conversation, not the balls. Right. Sorry,
dude. But dude, that was the thing. Like that hunt. Like I've been hunting deer for 30 years, white-tailed deer in the South for 30 years, and this is God's honest truth, man. I learned more spending 3 days with a wildlife biologist than I'd learned in 30 years.
Oh yeah.
And then I had the pleasure of hunting turkeys in Texas with Dr. Michael Chamberlain, who's the Wild Turkey Doc on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Highly recommend following him. Wild Turkey Doc, DOC. Dr. Michael Chamberlain in his 50s, PhD. Holy shit. That dude, you need to get him on your podcast. You need to get him on your show. It's amazing.
That would be awesome.
Do you turkey hunt at all? You guys don't hunt turkeys up there.
Yeah, we do. Our turkey season just ended. NWTF has done an incredible job of getting turkeys out here in Montana. I have not done any turkey hunting this year. I did some last year. I got my first 2 turkeys last year.
Where?
In Northern California. And it was the most sketchy. It was not like I went out in my camo and, it's all covered up and I did my calling and I did plenty of that. And I saw some jakes, saw some hens. But I tell you, I got my first turkey. I was doing some morning stretching and yoga before starting my day. And I got a note from my family member that was like, hey, there's turkeys in the driveway. So I sprint my ass up. I'm in a pair of gym shorts and a t-shirt, throw on the Crocs and sprint my ass up, grab my shotgun. And I know right where the turkeys are heading because I've been seeing them every day. So I go around like 2 properties over. I have permission. It's all family properties. So I go 2 properties over and I just post up like behind a tree, like a cartoon character, and just waited for him to come out. And I hopped around and blasted one, and he had a nice old 10-inch beard.
Were they Rios?
I forget what we've got out there. To be dead honest, I'm sure somebody could go look at my pictures and tell me. But then the next one was I was walking into my office on our property. I had an office built in my warehouse, and I go out, and my nephews were up visiting, and I wanted them to get to experience processing some game and eating something that was just killed. And so I hear this gobble from the backside of the property. I'm like, well, hell. And I'm in a bright red t-shirt and board shorts and flip-flops at this point. It's, it's nice and warm out. So I grab my shotgun again, and I full on Elmer Fudd this across the property. It's very much be very, very quiet while hunting turkeys. And I'm hiding around, and I finally see it, and I sneak around the chicken coop, and same kind of thing. I pop out and bah. And I'm like, oh man, of course, this is how I get my first couple of turkeys. I spend all of this time learning how to call and buying decoys and getting all camoed out and spending time out there. Can't get a Tom to come in to save my life. And then I managed to get 2 real nice ones.
I don't have a problem with that. I embrace that.
Oh, I love it. But there's also part of me that just I want to learn. So much of why I'm into hunting is I want to learn that the process and how to do all these other things and learn more about the animals. And you don't get quite as much of that from, getting them more by chance than anything. But I'm also not too proud to be the guy that I see a big ass bull walk across the road and up into the hills. I have no problem pulling my truck over, walking right up after that thing, as long as it's fully legal, that is. But
100%, man. That's one of the problems, man, I have in the hunting space is you have a lot of people, as long as what you're doing is legal and you're not casting the rest of us in a bad light or doing something antagonistic to piss off anti-hunters, which I think is those are the dumbest people in the world that do that. I don't have a problem with it. There's a lot of people that it should be done on public land or it should be done with a bow and you can't use an outfitter or you shouldn't use, a guide or whatever. And it's hey man, listen, dude, I live on the beach in Florida. It's this flat. We have pine trees, man, and shitty ass water oaks that just drop leaves all day. I own a company that does marketing for about 24 brands in the outdoor space. Most of my day is spent on Black Rifle coffee, and I don't have time to go scout some state that I hope I draw a tag in. So for me, it's all right, how about this? I'm gonna go with an outfitter. I went with an outfitter last year in New Mexico. Went with an outfitter the year before in Colorado. 2 years before that, I did do it yourself. My first elk was by myself in Utah with the Hoochie Mama cow call sitting on a water hole. No fucking clue what I was doing, dude. But I was all right, you know what? I'm going to pretend I'm hunting a deer. And if I see an elk deer, which is what I was calling him in my head, I'm going to shoot him in his big ass vitals with my bow. And dude, sure enough, man, first afternoon, shot a big old 6x5. Next year, Selway Bitterroot in Idaho, got a really nice 6x6. Next year, I got a raghorn. And that was, both of those were public land. And then the next year, I got a raghorn at the Motherwell Ranch in Colorado, $7,000 hunt. Shot the smallest elk of my life. And then this past year, I got a cow. And then this past year, I got a really nice bull in New Mexico. But I personally, if people are oh man, you public land? No, I didn't hunt it on public land. I shot it on private land. Why does that matter to you? You know what I mean? I understand, you get with your bow or your rifle. I get that, rifle elk is much, much easier than elk with a bow. But I think it sucks, man. People cast judgment or try to put their signature on how people do things or accomplish things. I know I have people that turkey hunt that would be man, I can't really they would never do what you did, However, they've been chasing turkeys in the South for 30 years. Yeah. You know what I mean? But they wouldn't judge you. They'd be man, I really would like to bring this guy down here and let him see what the show looks like, which is when they're gobbling their heads off and they're coming in, strutting and spitting and drumming. That's the type of people that I like. It's oh man, well, hey, why don't you come turkey hunt with me and let me show you how it's done, versus I'm sitting in some ivory tower of superiority, that drives me crazy. But yeah, it's like, I think there's a lot in the hunting space. There's some people and some movements that are very mean spirited and just shitty. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to name organizations, but there are some out there that have created this entire, like, if it's not done on public land, it doesn't count. Or they cast judgment on how people should do things on their own private land. Or you have people you're in Montana, let's just say Montana. Yeah, there's a bunch of people in Montana that, like, the thought of high fence hunting in Texas, like, they go out of their way to cuss out people in a state they've never been to about how they do things on their own private property, you know? And I think that's shitty. I don't do that. Like, I saw a meme the last time I left Africa, and it's like everyone in this country, not everyone, but there's a lot of people in this country that think that they know how people should do things in other states, and even worse, other countries on this planet that they've never been to. They don't know how things are. And it's like, it was a bunch of African elders in loincloths sitting in a circle. And it's like, we have now finished our conclusion. We'll be submitting our recommendation for the Alabama Quality Deer Management Program for this upcoming season. And it's just like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, that's absolutely hilarious. Like, and this was the year after Cecil the Lion thing went down, which turned out to be completely legal, you know? So opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one, and most of them stink at some point during the day.
Yeah, it's I don't know, you know, like, I mean, I prefer to hunt public land. Like, I enjoy that experience. Like, I like going out with my bow, hunting public land, because I'm looking for that added difficulty and that added experience and whatever it happens to be. But same thing, like we were talking about FTW Ranch, you know, Tim made an offer for me to come down and harvest a couple animals on his ranch. And
what'd you shoot?
I shot Iranian red sheep ewe and fallow deer doe.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the second thing?
The fallow deer doe. Okay.
Did you eat the fallow deer?
I have.
I heard they're nasty.
Oh, I've heard they're great. I've heard they're absolutely fantastic. I've got both of them, majority of them in the freezer. I can't remember. I've had one of the steaks. I've got to do the grind. I've got like a bucket of grind from both of them that I need to get sorted out. I keep forgetting I have it. And so, like, on the weekends when I have time to go to the butcher and get some extra fat and all this stuff, and I just completely forget. But but I'll jump at that opportunity. And that is the absolute opposite of, you know, that's like sitting in a box blind, a raised box blind on private property with a feeder to harvest an animal. But I got no problem with that because it's legal, it's ethical, it helps manage the populations. I don't know. I love to hunt. If somebody gives me an opportunity, I mean, the one thing I won't do is, like, if somebody's gonna pull something out of a cage, like, release it out and then tell me to go shoot. Like, I just have no interest in doing that. At that point, I might as well go to the grocery store and just buy a beefsteak. But
dude, I've seen those deer breeding operations, and, like, our processor in Americus, Georgia, where the farm is, he's also a taxidermist. He's like, man, let me show you this thing this boy shot in Alabama last weekend. So this kid from Americus drove over to a game ranch in Alabama for his graduation present and shot this absolute, complete and total genetic freak.
Yeah.
Like, nothing in the history of this earth has ever looked like that. You know, and I was like, well, how do you feel about it? He's like, yeah, man. He's like, I think it's kind of weird. He's like, well, the kid's, like, super proud of it. And I was like, okay, good for him. I mean, you know, whatever. I just think it's strange. But those animals, the breeding operations, like, those things, like, they're super meek. They move really slow. They're used to hanging out, like, where they're raised because that's where they're fed. And, like, I don't know. It's just weird, man. Like, I think it's really odd. I have no interest. It's like, yeah, you know, good for you. It's high five, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. So what are you hunting this fall?
So I was looking at doing some pronghorn in Wyoming. I'm figuring out the schedule right now. I I always love to go down and hunt over the counter archery deer in Arizona. That's one of my favorite hunts.
Really?
That's where this little guy came from. This is my very first deer, first tag filled, first archery kill, everything. And I think that's one of the most underrated tags we've got. So I'm trying to head down to Arizona and do that. I'd like to do some pronghorn in Wyoming. And then, focus honestly mostly on just elk and deer and whatever I can get my hands on here in Montana.
Are they doing something with y'all's like resident draw or non-resident draw or something? Like I heard some stuff.
There's a new bill passed. I got to look into exactly what it was. So there was this whole bill that basically got shot down. The hunters and anglers got together and said, no, this is bull crap. We don't want this. And it effectively granted outfitters like extra. You could basically, if you were non-resident, you booked with an outfitter, you got preference over like everyone else, and you could get like extra preference points, and outfitters got like this ridiculous amount of tags. Like it was way out there, and it was super not in the spirit of kind of Montana hunting. And that got shot down. But the problem is another bill got passed recently, and I'm not super familiar with that bill. It's on my list to look into before the week's up. But another bill got passed, and what happened is that dead bill got tacked onto this bill last minute. And so I think there's some weird stuff going on.
Has something to do with like landowner tax and stuff.
Yeah, there's something with landowner tax. I have to look, and I think it had to do with hunting bear and mountain lion on private land as well. People are probably cringing at my description of this currently, but I need to pull it up. And actually I haven't taken the time this week to look into it, what exactly went down and read the bill. But there's some weird stuff going on, and I'm not thrilled about it. And a lot of people are going to get on my case and be like, oh, well, you were happy that, Gianforte got elected and Danes got elected and they're behind this all. And I'm like, yeah, well, nothing else matters if somebody's trying to take away our Second Amendment rights. And I've said this on other podcasts before. I'd rather have somebody in office that's going to protect our Second Amendment rights before hunting. And I'd rather have them protect hunting before public lands.
You can't be like a one issue voter.
Yeah.
You just can't, man. Like, first of all, governors have elected representatives individually have very limited power. Governors have very limited power. President of the United States has very limited power. So for anyone's like, oh, well, this is your fault because you voted for so-and-so, don't ever take that person seriously again as long as you live.
Oh, yeah.
That person just labeled themselves as a dipshit. Okay, so what? Gianforte got, but you got Teester. He's a liberal. He's one of your senators. The other one's a Republican. So why doesn't Teester go and say bad? Wave a wand? Because the senator technically has more. I mean, is probably a little more powerful than a governor. Maybe. I don't know. I hate politics, man. God, it's awful, man. It's become so tribal, dude. It's like you either for this, like if you like, and no one has conversations about the issues anymore. Like everyone just raises high holy hell about everything, and it's like, damn you if you do this and damn you if you don't do that and yada yada yada. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
So what are we supposed to be mad about today? I can't remember. I forgot. The next time you have someone that's really into politics or is always gaslighting everyone or is just constantly pissed, be like, hey man, I don't remember. What were you mad about Tuesday? They'll be like, man, shit, I don't remember, but I'll tell you what I'm mad about today. It's like, we all know those people.
No, I can't. I don't know. I've told people before, I'm closing down my circle. I'm like, I used to just have everything open and talk to anyone and everyone. I'm just exhausted. And so I just want to let the beard grow, go up into the mountains and just come into town once every 6 months for supplies and be that guy that the little kids point at.
There he is.
I saw him.
Right.
It's old man Ayers.
Yeah. He's up on the mountain panning for gold. Living in an old mine shaft.
Oh, it sounds better and better every single day. I'll tell you what. I went through a phase where I almost right before I moved out here and ended up in this spot. I almost bought 20 acres and put a yurt on it and just lived in a yurt for a couple of years. But I still heavily considering doing that. Just being like, all right, peace out, society. Check you guys back in a few years. Yep. Well, the main thing, man, is just stay off the news. Like, don't listen to or read the news. Everything is, because back in the day, like when I was growing up, you had the morning news, the evening news, and you had the nightly news, and then you went to bed. And people read the paper in the morning, and like it was not a 24-hour news cycle. And editorial rooms did not need to be profitable because there wasn't a way for them to be profitable. These news organizations made their money selling newspaper subscriptions and, ads in the newspapers. And then, same as magazines. And then what happened, you had the invention of the internet. And newspapers have now gone out of business for the most part, except for a few. And editorial rooms are the primary source of income. Because everything's click and .com and, internet based. So journalism, integrity in journalism has gone completely out the window because the truth isn't what matters. What matters is people clicking on links and articles. So I'll give you $100 right now if you go on Fox News or CNN and find me a positive headline. You will not find one positive headline. Oh, I can't imagine. It's horrible, dude. Everything is shit. The world's coming to an end. Fire this, fire that, gaslight. I mean, it's a pile of shit, man. Oh, I don't know. Hey, wait. I just pulled up CNN.com. The main headline, Biden celebrates ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. Yeah, but just click on it, and I promise you. Yeah. It's about war. I'm talking about positivity. Like something. Firefighter saves kitten. I get you. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh man, but we're way off here. We are way down the rabbit hole. Good, we had a good conversation. Heck yeah. So I always like to wind this down. Say somebody like me wants to get into hunting as an adult. They're a bit older. They don't have any friends or family that do it, but maybe you run into them at a bar or something. You're like, oh yeah, I hunt, and they're like, man, I've always wanted to do this, but there's so much to learn, so much to figure out. I don't know, man. And what advice would you give them as far as getting into hunting? I would use the internet. There are a ton of resources. It's overwhelming, the amount of information that's available. But what I would find someone that that hunts and reach out to them. And make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, because time is valuable and no one likes to have their time wasted. And just say, hey, man, start asking them questions. And eventually you'll find someone that wants to teach you and wants to help you and wants to recruit you into the outdoors. And maybe they'll say, hey, man, what can I do to help? Can I tag along on a hunt? Can I carry a pack? Can I be a pack mule? Can I be a camp bitch? What can I do? Show that person that you're truly interested in getting into hunting, and learn to shoot a rifle, a bow, whatever pick your poison, and just have a legit interest. But more importantly, I think just be honest with yourself about why you want to get into it or what you're doing and how you're going about doing it. And don't do it for the likes, man. Don't do anything for the likes. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you hopping on. Yeah, man. Fun conversation. I enjoyed it. All right, y'all, that'll do it for this episode of The Wild Initiative. Make sure to check out the show notes page at thewildinitiative.com. Get links to everything we talked about in today's episode. That'll do it for this week. Looking forward to next time. But until then, I hope this episode inspired you to get involved, get outdoors, and plan your initiative for the wild.
Thank you for listening to The Wild Initiative. Please take a moment to leave a rating and review on iTunes or Stitcher, and head on over to thewildinitiative.com to get show notes, check out the blog, gear discounts, other podcasts from the Wild Initiative family, and more.